What if God placed you in a narcissist's life as their final warning, only for them to ignore it? What happens when they realize too late that your presence was never ordinary, but a divine intervention? Stay with me as we uncover the undeniable signs that you were sent by God to expose their deception, challenge their control, and leave a void they can never replace. Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when we encounter people who test our patience, our kindness, and even our faith. Some of these individuals may be narcissists, people consumed by self-importance, manipulation, and a lack of accountability. But what if I told you that you might be the final warning God is sending into their life? Here are 5 undeniable signs that you are God's last message to a narcissist before consequences come knocking on their door. When God places you in a narcissist's life as a final warning, one of the most powerful signs is that you become a mirror they cannot escape. Narcissists thrive on creating illusions, manipulating those around them, and maintaining a false sense of superiority. They build walls of deception, ensuring that their true nature remains hidden from most people. However, when God uses you as their final warning, your presence disrupts their carefully crafted facade. Your words, actions, and unwavering stance on truth expose the darkness they desperately try to conceal. Narcissists hate being exposed. They spend years convincing others, and even themselves, that they are faultless, misunderstood, and deserving of admiration. Their entire identity is built on a web of manipulation, false humility, and emotional control. But when God sends someone into their life to reflect the truth back at them, they cannot run from it. It becomes a spiritual battle, because truth is something they fear. As John 3:20 states, "Everyone who does evil hates the light, and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed." This verse perfectly describes why a narcissist reacts so aggressively when confronted by someone who refuses to be deceived. A person chosen as God's final warning does not tolerate lies, flattery, or manipulative tactics. Instead, they hold a mirror up to the narcissist, showing them their own pride, arrogance, and selfishness. This is not done out of hatred, but out of divine purpose. God has given them an opportunity to change, but they resist because it threatens their self-approval. The presence of truth in their life forces them to either acknowledge their wrongs or reject correction altogether. Most narcissists choose the latter, doubling down on their deception rather than repenting. One of the most frustrating things about being a mirror to a narcissist is that they will attempt to twist reality. They will accuse you of being the problem, claim that you are overreacting, or even try to turn others against you. This is a form of spiritual warfare. The enemy does not want them to see the truth, and he will use pride, denial, and manipulation to keep them blind. This is why Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." When confronting a narcissist, you are not just dealing with a difficult personality, you are battling spiritual deception. Narcissists are masters at avoiding accountability. They surround themselves with people who will enable their behavior, validate their self-righteousness, and excuse their sins. But when God places you in their life, you break that cycle. You refuse to entertain their lies. You challenge them in ways they have never been challenged before, and for the first time, they are forced to look at themselves honestly. This is a terrifying experience for someone who has spent their entire life hiding behind a false self. When confronted with the truth, narcissists react in one of two ways. They either repent or they retaliate. The rare few who are willing to change will experience deep conviction and turn to God for healing. But most will reject the warning, choosing instead to attack the messenger. They may spread false rumors about you, play the victim, or isolate you from their circle. They do this because the truth you carry is too painful for them to face. They would rather destroy your credibility than acknowledge their own wrongdoing. Despite their resistance, God does not send warnings in vain. The narcissist may try to ignore what has been revealed, but deep down they will never forget it. Even if they refuse to change, the seed has been planted. There will come a day when they will be forced to reckon with the truth they once rejected, and when that moment arrives, they will remember the one person who stood firm and did not waver. Being a mirror to a narcissist is not an easy assignment. It requires strength, wisdom, and faith. You may feel exhausted, discouraged, and even question why God has placed you in this position. But know this: your role is significant. You are not just dealing with a difficult person, you are fulfilling a divine purpose. Whether they choose to listen or not, you have done what God has called you to do. And in the end, truth will always prevail. When God places you in a narcissist's life as a final warning, one of the most evident signs is that you challenge their false sense of control. Narcissists thrive on manipulation, domination, and ensuring that everything around them revolves around their desires. They craft an illusion where they are always in power, dictating the narrative, setting the rules, and ensuring that those around them conform to their will. However, when God sends someone to disrupt their control, it shakes the very foundation of their deceptive kingdom. Narcissists operate through control tactics such as gaslighting, guilt-tripping, triangulation, and emotional blackmail. They carefully select individuals they can manipulate, surrounding themselves with people who will enable their toxic behavior. But when you enter their life as God's warning, you do not fall into their traps. You do not respond to their manipulation the way others have. You refuse to be controlled, and this infuriates them. Suddenly, they realize that their usual tactics are ineffective. The more they try to control you, the more you resist. This is where the battle begins. The moment you challenge their control, they feel threatened. They see you as a danger to their carefully built empire of lies and manipulation. This is because control is not just a preference for narcissists. It is their source of security. When they cannot control you, they feel powerless. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than the loss of power. Proverbs 16:18 says, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." Their pride convinces them that they must always be in charge, but God has a way of humbling those who refuse to acknowledge His authority. Your presence in their life serves as a direct challenge to their God complex. Many narcissists believe, either consciously or subconsciously, that they are the ultimate authority. They refuse to submit to God's will because they see themselves as superior to correction. But when God sends someone who refuses to submit to their manipulative ways, it becomes a spiritual confrontation. They may not realize it, but they are no longer just fighting you. They are resisting the truth that God is using you to bring into their life. As they realize they cannot control you, they may attempt to break you. They will use various strategies to force you into submission. They may use anger, silent treatment, intimidation, or even fake kindness to lure you back under their control. If those methods fail, they might try to turn others against you, spreading lies to damage your reputation. They want to isolate you because they see you as a threat to their influence. However, this is where God's strength must be your anchor. Isaiah 41:10 reminds us, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Even when the narcissist wages war against you, God's power is greater. By standing firm, you expose their true nature. The more they try to control you, the more they reveal their own insecurities and weaknesses. They may try to convince themselves and others that they are in control, but deep down they know they are losing their grip. This realization often drives them into a desperate state. They may intensify their manipulative tactics, trying every possible way to regain control. But in doing so, they only further expose the darkness within them. God uses your resistance to bring conviction into their heart. Whether they acknowledge it or not, your refusal to be controlled forces them to face an uncomfortable truth. They are not as powerful as they believe. Some narcissists may begin to recognize their need for change, though very few will admit it openly. Others will choose to double down, becoming even more destructive in their actions. Regardless of their response, your role in their life serves a divine purpose. The struggle between control and surrender is ultimately a spiritual battle. Narcissists desire control because they fear surrendering to God. They trust only in themselves, believing that their way is best. But God will not allow them to continue unchecked forever. He sends people into their lives to challenge their illusion of control, to remind them that they are not the ultimate authority. Whether they accept or reject the warning is up to them, but the message has been delivered. When God places you in a narcissist's life as a final warning, one of the most telling signs is that their reaction to you is hostile and defensive. Narcissists operate in a world where they control the narrative, twist reality to suit their desires, and avoid accountability at all costs. They create an image of themselves that portrays them as perfect, blameless, and always right. But when God sends someone into their life to confront their toxic behavior, their carefully crafted illusion begins to crumble. They recognize that you see through their deception, and that realization is something they cannot handle. The moment you confront a narcissist with truth, they see you as an enemy. They perceive any challenge to their authority as a direct attack on their self-worth. Unlike people who are humble and willing to acknowledge their flaws, narcissists react with anger, gaslighting, and manipulation. They may call you too sensitive, claim you misunderstood them, or even twist your words to make it seem like you are the problem. Their hostility toward you is not just personal, it is spiritual. As John 8:32 says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But narcissists do not want to be set free because they are comfortable living in deception. One of the most common defensive reactions from a narcissist is playing the victim. When you hold them accountable, they will shift the blame onto you, accusing you of being unfair, ungrateful, or even cruel. They will bring up past situations to make you feel guilty, even if those events are irrelevant to the current issue. This is their way of avoiding responsibility. Rather than admitting their wrongdoing, They create a narrative where they are the ones being mistreated. This tactic allows them to manipulate others into taking their side, making you look like the aggressor. Gaslighting is another common response. Narcissists hate being exposed, so they will try to convince you that your perception of reality is wrong. They might say things like, "That never happened," "You're overreacting," or "You're remembering it wrong." This psychological manipulation is designed to make you doubt yourself, question your feelings, and eventually submit to their control. But this is exactly why God has placed you in their life, to disrupt the cycle of lies and bring light into the darkness they have created. When a narcissist realizes that their usual tactics do not work on you, their hostility intensifies. They may begin attacking your character, spreading false stories about you, or turning mutual friends and family against you. They cannot accept being wrong, so they try to destroy your credibility instead. Proverbs 12:15 states, "The way of fools seems right to them, but the wise listen to advice." A narcissist refuses to listen because they do not believe they need correction. Instead, they lash out at the person who dares to challenge them. Some narcissists respond with extreme emotional outbursts, using anger as a weapon to intimidate you into silence. They want you to feel afraid to speak the truth. They may yell, insult, or even threaten you to regain control. If that doesn't work, they might withdraw completely, giving you the silent treatment as a way of punishing you for daring to hold them accountable. They believe that by ignoring you, they can make you feel guilty and force you to come back on their terms. This hostile and defensive reaction is proof that God is using you to expose something they do not want to confront. Deep down, they know that what you are saying is true, but their pride will not allow them to admit it. They would rather lose relationships, push people away, and isolate themselves than humble themselves before God. This is why so many narcissists live lonely, miserable lives despite outward appearances of success. They cannot maintain genuine relationships because their pride destroys any chance of true connection. However, the fact that they react so aggressively means that your presence in their life is making an impact. If they truly believed they were innocent, they would not feel the need to fight so hard to defend themselves. Their resistance to the truth is evidence of their inner struggle. God has given them an opportunity to change, but their unwillingness to receive correction shows their heart's condition. The more they reject the truth, the further they drift from God's grace. God does not send warnings without purpose. When He places you in a narcissist's life, it is because He is giving them one last chance to repent. He is using you as a vessel to reveal what they refuse to see. Whether they accept or reject that warning is their choice, but their hostile and defensive reaction proves that they are being convicted, whether they admit it or not. When God places you in a narcissist's life as a final warning, one of the clearest signs is that your exit leaves a void they cannot fill. Narcissists operate with a false sense of superiority, believing that they control the people around them. They manipulate, deceive, and use others for their own benefit, assuming that no one will ever leave them. They view relationships as transactions, taking what they need while giving little or nothing in return. However, when God removes you from their life, it disrupts their illusion of control, and they are forced to face a painful reality, one that they are not prepared for. A narcissist thrives on the attention, admiration, and emotional energy they extract from others. They see people as extensions of themselves, not as individuals with their own needs and boundaries. They assume that no matter how badly they treat someone, that person will always return, desperate for their approval. This is why they rarely value people until it is too late. When God calls you to step away, they suddenly realize that you were not as easily replaceable as they once thought. At first, they may pretend that your absence means nothing. They will act as if losing you was their decision, downplaying your importance to maintain their image of superiority. They may even flaunt new relationships or experiences, trying to convince themselves and others that they are unaffected. But deep down, they feel the emptiness that your presence once filled. Unlike others who may have enabled their behavior, you were different. You were the one person who held them accountable, challenged their toxicity, and refused to play their games. That kind of presence is not easily forgotten. The narcissist may attempt to fill the void with distractions. They might seek out new relationships, throw themselves into work, or surround themselves with people who validate their behavior. They do this not because they have moved on, but because they are running from the truth. Ecclesiastes 1:14 states, "I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind." No matter how many new people they bring into their life, they will never find true fulfillment because they refuse to confront the real issue, themselves. One of the most telling signs that your departure has affected them is when they try to regain control. They may reach out, acting as if nothing happened, attempting to pull you back into their cycle of manipulation. If you do not respond, they might switch tactics, using guilt, anger, or even playing the victim to make you feel responsible for their pain. They will do everything possible to make you doubt your decision to walk away. This is because your absence is forcing them to sit in the consequences of their actions, something they have avoided their entire life. But no matter how much they try to fill the emptiness, something will always be missing. Your presence was not just another source of supply for them, it was a divine warning. You represented an opportunity for change, a chance for them to turn away from their destructive ways. By rejecting that opportunity, they have sealed their own fate. Romans 1:28 says, "Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind, so that they do what ought not to be done." There comes a point when God allows them to experience the full weight of their choices. Your absence is a part of that process. Though they may never admit it, they will feel the loss of you in ways they never expected. They will remember the times you confronted them with the truth, the moments you refused to enable their manipulation, and the unwavering strength you displayed in the face of their control. They will realize, perhaps too late, that you were a rare presence in their life, one that was meant to lead them toward transformation. Instead, they rejected that opportunity, and now they must live with the consequences of their decision when God places you in a narcissist's life as a final warning. One of the strongest signs is that they will experience consequences after you leave. Narcissists operate under the illusion that they are untouchable, that their manipulation, deceit, and selfishness will never catch up to them. They believe they can continue using people, avoiding accountability and escaping the repercussions of their actions. However, when God removes you from their life, it marks the beginning of a season of divine reckoning. Your departure signals the withdrawal of God's grace that had been extended through you, and as a result, they begin to face the consequences they thought they would never encounter. For a time, the narcissist may appear unaffected. They may act as if losing you meant nothing, pretending to move forward without any regret. They may even flaunt new relationships, success, or material gain to give the impression that they are thriving. But beneath the surface, a shift is occurring. The presence of someone who carried truth and light has been removed, and now they are left alone with the darkness they worked so hard to hide. Galatians 6:7 warns, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." They have sown deception, manipulation, and destruction, and now, without your covering, they will begin to reap the harvest of their own behavior. One of the first consequences they experience is the loss of their ability to control others as easily as they once did. When you are in their life, they may have relied on you for emotional validation, problem solving, or even as a scapegoat to blame for their issues. But now that you are gone, they no longer have that buffer. They are left to deal with the reality they created. This often leads to frustration because they realize too late that they took your presence for granted. The very things they dismissed about you, the honesty, the patience, the unwavering strength, become painfully obvious in their absence. Another sign of divine consequence is that the people who once supported their behavior start to turn away. Narcissists build their world around control, ensuring that they have enablers who will validate their lies and support their self-serving narrative. However, when God's hand of warning is removed, the people around them begin to see through their facade. Where once they could easily manipulate and charm, now they struggle to maintain their influence. Relationships they relied on begin to crumble. Doors that were once open begin to close, and the admiration they craved starts to fade. This is not coincidence. This is God allowing them to feel the full weight of their isolation. The narcissist may also begin to face external hardships that seem to come out of nowhere. They may experience financial struggles, failed relationships, loss of status, or even health issues. While not every hardship is a direct punishment, there are times when God allows trials to humble those who refuse correction. Proverbs 16:05 says, "The Lord detests all the proud of heart. Be sure of this, they will not go unpunished." The narcissist's pride has blinded them for too long, and now, without the presence of someone who carried God's truth, they must deal with the consequences of their arrogance. Perhaps the most significant consequence is the internal emptiness they are left with. Narcissists thrive on controlling others, and when they lose someone who truly mattered, especially someone sent by God, they are left with a void that nothing else can fill. They will try to distract themselves with new people, material things, or achievements, but deep down, they will know something is missing. No amount of external success can replace the divine opportunity they rejected. God's warnings are never given in vain. When He sends someone into a narcissist's life, it is out of love and mercy, offering them a chance to change before destruction comes. But when they refuse to listen, consequences follow. The narcissist may blame others, deny their reality, or try to regain control, but they will eventually come to the painful realization that they have lost something they can never get back. Whether they ever admit it or not, they will remember the one person who stood firm, who refused to be manipulated, and who left behind a void that will forever remind them of the truth they rejected.